Kingdom of Cards, we've just released the Bumper Video Game Quiz book featuring over 1,000 questions.
It features 1,000 questions plus from everything in gaming from 1962 to the present day, and it's available from Amazon worldwide, and the link is in the description below. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Thank you, bye.
This is it, the big one. Oh, yeah, I'll edit this out, but I keep forgetting that at the start we never say our names, so if people do just jump in.
Yeah.
So, should we have pseudonyms?
Yeah.
Bags of being Susan Barraclough.
Bags of being Barry McGuigan.
His daughter, I still miss her. I'm Britt, this is Rupert, and this is State of Play, and this is our sort of best games and most disappointing of the decade, with a load of honourable mentions.
The decade. 10 whole years.
It did take a while, and I noticed that Rupert's notes are slightly more robust than mine, almost like he's put more thought into them. And I can't see from the back, you've put a sheet of paper in there, so I can't see through.
Yeah, so it's a secret.
Like, as if you were reading that, I'd be trying to work out the next
discussed
one.
it before. It's actually because I couldn't work out how to make it print one-sided. Because for some reason it was like in like memo mode or something like that.
What were you like in the library printing this off?
No, I was at work.
on lunch?
Yes. Yeah. Weird lunch, started at 9:30 in the morning.
yeah, till you left. I got an extended one. So yeah, we're going to go through the honourable mentions first, which is a good idea because there's so many. I realised I was just listing awesome things for different reasons.
Yeah.
So how I've worked mine is the top 10, which we'll go on to in a bit. Then mine aren't in an order because I couldn't really put them in an order. But then my honourable mentions I just chucked in, but they're in there for different reasons.
Yes.
Maybe I've included an entire series instead of single games.
Yeah, you can throw it out there. It's been enough time to have entire franchises. Right, so I'm drinking coffee. You're straight on the booze.
Straight on the Welsh cider. What's it called? Gwyntodraig. Yeah, Gwyntodraig. So do you want to start off with seeing as you're a guest, do you want to start off with the honourable mention?
Yeah. Well, let's think how we're going to do this, because I could just go through we don't want to dwell too much, do we, on each and every one of them? Because
No. Do you want to go through all your honourable mentions?
Yeah, I'll just quickly blast all over the place. So my honourable mentions, I've done them in like chronological order just because that's how I work through Wikipedia. Video games of 2010, 2011.
When I was looking on Wikipedia, because they scroll across the top, and I was just clicking, there were so many, I typed in best games of 2010, so many of them I dismissed. So many came up I totally dismissed at the end.
I literally crossed them out on my screen. Black marker. Right, wasn't a very practical way of doing it.
I have to watch the screen now.
So, honourable mentions, Darksiders 1 and 2, 2010 and 2012.
That's weird, because there's 3 in that trilogy.
Yes. Yes, there are 3. Well, it's actually 4 now.
Well, they're doing it 4.
Well, they got Darksiders Genesis
which is a twin stick shooter, which I'm going to buy.
I'm keen on that.
Yeah.
What I need to know more about is how Diablo-like it is, because I don't want it to be a grind. But from what I've seen, it seems to be a bit more like just a top-down kind of version of...
I assumed it would be more Alien Nation-y.
I think it is more twin sticky.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be like...
Because I noticed that as well, one of the characters, I'm not sure which ones are in it, but one of the characters is more melee-based and one is more ranged.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of a really underrated game called Hunted by Bethesda on the PS3, which I really like for that reason, that you have to kind of work together.
Yeah, so Darksiders 1 and 2, excellent games. Alan Wake came out in 2010.
Wow,
I like that a lot.
Playing that recently for the first time, I'm enjoying it.
Quite simplistic, but I like the storytelling. I like the whole Stephen King kind of atmosphere. Really cool.
Yeah, like it's quite meta, isn't it? Like writing about a writer. So.
Jumping to 2012, Dishonored. That was a very good game.
You did like that. What about the sequel?
I haven't played it enough because I played it on PC, but it was so broken on PC that I never really got back. I will go back to it because presumably it's been patched now.
My brother said it felt more like an expansion, so he kind of he thought he'd already got what he wanted out the first game, so he didn't really stick with it. I haven't played it. I did like the first one.
Yeah, I did get to the point where we've already got a creature in it.
We've already got the cat.
I did get to this one. There was one amazing map in Dishonored 2, which is called the Clockwork Mansion or something like that, and it's like literally a mansion, which is kind of like these huge clockwork cogs
and
the whole, you get floors shifting around in front of your eyes and stuff. It's really, really cool. So I will definitely get back into that. There was Tomb Raider was rebooted in 2013, of course.
Yeah, that was good. I
Brilliant.
feel like I should have finished that, but I didn't.
Very good. Prefer it to Uncharted. 2013, I am gonna say Arkham Origins. Because although Arkham City and Arkham Knight both came out this decade, Arkham Origins was the one. Like, Arkham Asylum is the best for me, but Arkham Origins is probably my second favourite, just because the kind of Christmas Eve setting, the introduction of the detective bits, and I just preferred the. I thought the story was just a bit more coherent than the other ones. So yeah, that was cool. 2014, Shovel Knight came out. I mean, that was the original. It's now become Treasure Trove, so you've got like all the expansions. You buy Treasure Trove and you get all the expansions all in one.
Right, okay. I don't fully understand, because I only played the original Shovel Knight, I don't understand how the expansions all tie in. So.
Well, they started releasing expansions, and then I think what happens was they renamed the original Shovel Knight as Treasure Trove. So basically, if you bought that, then every new expansion would just be added, like for free, so to speak.
Cool.
So yeah, so well worth it. They're all. The cool thing is all the expansions are very different. Like the mechanics are very different for each night that you play.
But they're all 2D.
All exactly the same kind of style, but in terms of the actual gameplay, they're all mechanically very different, which is really cool. So it means that some of them, I think, Plague Knight I didn't really enjoy, but other ones were really cool. Spectre of Torment was excellent. 2014 also had Rayman Legends, one of the best 2D platformers ever made.
Yeah. Oh, was that the one with the amazing ukulele soundtrack? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was such a joyful experience.
It was so good all the way through. You just keep, you just you never got bored. It was that good. 2015 was GTA 5. Was it 2015? It seems like it should be earlier than that. I thought it was 2013. Probably is 2013. But anyway, GTA 5 was out this.
Yeah, it does seem longer. Yeah.
Because it came out on PS3. I remember it.
Yeah, so 2015 would make sense then.
It was the end of PS3, wasn't it? Anyway, GTA 5 was a good game.
Yeah.
But I never really got into the online.
No, of anything really.
So it didn't really.
You've never been online, have you? Actually, think about
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've got a 48k modem, but yeah, the thing about, I do think GTA. I hope it goes in a slightly different direction next time. I hope it's not another modern day thing. I hope. I mean, they jump back to the 70s or something cool like that.
Yeah.
Or try, like, I don't know, a non-US city, something. I don't know. They just
something different.
I hope they mix it up a bit. Jumping to 2017, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, I suppose you could say Mario Kart 8 on Wii U as well, but Deluxe was the full version, so I put a lot of hours into that. Good online as well. 2017 was also when Super Mario Odyssey came out, which was an excellent game.
Yeah.
Very, very good. It really recaptured that feeling we got with
64.
Mario 64. It was just a big open playground. Excellent. 2018, I put Octopath Traveler, because if only because it's the only JRPG I've ever finished. But yeah, I mean, some people kind of slightly disparagingly call it like side quest the game sort of thing, because but I prefer that. It's like, it is built on tiny little mini stories, but I really like that. I like the way
Outer Worlds is the same thing. It's huge side quest. The main story is like an hour or two. So
right, but I'm fine with that, because especially as it was for a time a Switch exclusive, and it worked on Switch that you could, because if you did have half an hour to play, you could just play a little story, and they're all really well written stories, and then you feel like you've accomplished something, and then you move on, and yeah, so it was just a really cool game, and it was beautiful, like the kind of diorama effect. So yeah.
I will play that game.
And this morning I added Trine 4 from this year, I guess, which might have ended up in the top 10 were it out like last year and I've had time to reflect on it, but at the moment I'm loving it.
It feels unique as well. It's just a unique experience.
And I suppose all the Trine games have come out this decade, but Trine 4 is the pinnacle. And then finally, I put Jackbox, the Jackbox games.
Yeah, that's a really good shout.
Yeah, because if you have the right occasion, because with the Jackbox games, obviously it's like a party game, but everyone uses their smartphone as a controller, all done through kind of web browsers, so there's no downloading an app or anything like that. And it's just really easy to get into really cool ideas.
And I've played it with my parents and stuff. If you come back and everyone's a bit tipsy, it's a good thing to just chuck on, because
it's so simple.
you're always in the frame of mind for
Yeah.
it. It's it
is drinking games, really, isn't it? I'm kind of surprised it's never really. It's the only thing like that out there where you kind of. I mean, I know that Sony tried something called PlayLink, which I think they had some quiz game called That's You or something like that. I guess you took photographs of yourself, but anyway. But Jackbox is the only one I've seen.
I always find
that quality.
With on that sort of subject as well. I always found it really strange that you had like Hot Pixel and a few others, but nothing like WarioWare.
Yeah.
WarioWare is like, I love the idea of like hundreds of mini games.
Yeah.
Brief, like party games, and again, something I play myself, play with anyone, and it feels like a subgenre that should be bigger than it is.
Yeah.
Because I play it, there's a game called Hot Pixel. It gets like 6, 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10. It's amazing. You check it on, it's just got this ridiculous, like wacky sense of humour about it. 5-second mini games.
I do think
on the PSP, that is.
They can be a bit of a difficult sell, I think, sometimes, those kind of compilation type games or party games, because they can be dismissed on paper. If you look at how slight they are and how kind of short lived, you can easily look at them and think, well, you know, it's just so frivolous and shallow that it's not worth it. But then if you have the right occasion, if you actually have human beings in the house who like drinking that, then it's absolutely perfect. There's nothing better, because you know, you can, especially for like people who aren't really into gaming and stuff, it's absolutely perfect, because they might not be into gaming, but they know how to put their finger on their phone and draw a stupid picture. So So yeah, that was all my honourable mentions.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah. Mine aren't as well laid out as yours. It's rich. My honourable mentions. So I've got. Again, they're not in any particular order. Golf Story. Because that was the first game I played on the Switch. Faye got hip deep into Stardew Valley, and I went straight for Golf Story. There's a full set of golf clubs right next to me now. Because obviously I like golf and the JRPG thing, and I just found it genuinely really funny. And surprisingly in depth with the mechanics of the golf, and it's one of those games every now and again I'll just chuck on and just play a couple of holes. You know, just
you could definitely imagine playing that quite happily, picking it up and playing it again.
I'm burning for a sequel.
Well, there is going to be.
But it's like all sports, isn't it? Apparently.
Yeah, but that's cool, because it could be really awesome, like tennis and
arcade. Yeah. And if they bring in multiplayer, I wouldn't care. That was really saucy. I was using a pen that was running out here.
Good.
This looks like it says S-Deedning. I know that says Speedrunners, actually, now that I look at it. Because Speedrunners is another game I've put like far more time in than I would assume.
Yeah.
Just
again,
because
amazing party game.
I just wish, I think it is now, but I want it to be on the Switch. Because,
why is it not on the Switch?
Because I don't use my PC much anymore, because it's in here, which is cool, but when you want people around, you want to be in the living room, boom, off you go.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a game that should be much bigger than it is. Speedrunners is definitely worth checking out. It's probably about 5p now.
There is a slight offshoot of that. There is a game called Runbow, which was on Wii U and it's now on Switch, which is similar to Speedrunners. I don't think it's
got the Art Deco stylings.
I don't think it's quite as good, but it's got quite a neat, because it's very, like as the name suggests, it's got real gaudy colours sort of thing, and a whole part of it. It's a similar kind of speedrunning thing where you're just running through levels and like knock each other off platforms and stuff. But it uses a colour. It uses the colours as a kind of game mechanic. So on certain sections, the platforms will only be visible and usable when a certain colour is passing in front of them and stuff. So you've got complete like chaos with regard to that. I think in terms of like Speedrunner is obviously an amazing party game. If you're going to do a single player version, that Rumbo is really cool.
It's better in that regard. Nidhogg 2, because it's so perfectly balanced. Like I've never played the original Nidhogg, and a lot of people prefer it, but the second one has just got this kind of 16-bit gearish, and the soundtrack is amazing. I bought it for Faye last Christmas on vinyl because it's just astonishing. Mux Mool. But yeah, I clocked like 20 hours on that.
And it's
so basic.
It's so basic. All it is
kill them and run past them.
Yeah, you just because it's like a really long level, isn't it?
Yeah,
and you
like
just
8
got to
screens.
your character's got to get to the end,
And you're eaten by a
and
giant
the other
godworm.
character's got to stop you from getting to the end, and
Yeah.
then push their way towards the end. And it's hilarious because you just pick up ridiculous weapons, throwing swords at each other.
Yeah, and when you throw it at them and they duck and you're just completely unarmed and they're running at you with a saber, you think, So one-hit kill as well. Kind of almost like a sort of spiritual weird successor to Bushido Blade in that regard. No energy
Yes.
bars, just...
need an actual successor to Bushido Blade.
Yeah, because the second one, put energy bars in. I don't care,
Right.
do I? So yeah, Dragon Dogma Dark Arisen by Capcom, which I loved because it melded my loves of slightly janky foreign
Slightly
games
janky.
with RPGs.
It's so overreaching, that game.
Yeah, I love it. I played it straight through, and the other day I thought, it's on Switch, I could play through it again. I mean, I'm not a stupid man. It was just the whole thing of having these like really blank followers around you, and then just climbing those enormous monsters and just getting thrown off. I never got bored of it. And a preposterous story. So, yeah, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen I really loved. Streets of Rogue, which is just outside of my top 10 because it was one of those games that... I may as well mention it as well with the other ones I've got here. Shakedown Hawaii and Retro City Rampage, where people play GTA and thought, oh, imagine this, but in like 8-bit top-down, and then someone did it, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's just as perfect as you would imagine. So yeah, because Retro City Rampage is good, Shakedown Hawaii is the better game because it's just more. It's just got such satirical edge to it, and it's so funny all the way through with the dialogue.
Funny all the way through. I mean, it's. I suppose. I mean, it's already been done in terms of like the first 2 GTA games, but they were much kind of darker in tone, weren't they? They weren't so over the top.
And when you play them now, they've aged pretty badly.
Yeah, and they are quite clunky, and they are
The
a bit.
frame rate is astonishing. The driving in them is so hard just because of how sort of
It's kind of difficult as well, but
and tank controls.
But with Retro City Rampage and especially Shakedown Hawaii, they're like so focused on just giving the player a sense of empowerment and fun
Yeah.
that it's so easy, really. I mean, Shakedown Hawaii, you breeze through it, but I mean,
like 3 hours, but that's fine.
It's hilarious, and like there's so much to do around the place. You
Yeah.
you just get addicted to kind of like just buying up properties and stuff.
Yeah, you just do because you don't get anything. But like, I'm buying all of that. It's just such a money-loving game. Yeah, and Streets of Rogue. If you haven't played that, I really want that to come out. Actually, no, it is. It was on the on Switch. I played it, and it's just like a plethora of characters you choose from, and the gameplay just completely changes depending on who you are. Like if you're a vampire or a werewolf or whatever. And everyone's got their own mini missions to do, and it's again it uses procedural generation properly, and it does get super tough, but you can complete it. The ending's really funny, and then you just think, I just want to play it again. In the same way of Death Road to Canada, you finish it and you're like, I'll just play that again. I got no problem at all with it. Shifting gears to something with a bit more of an emotional impact. I don't know if you've played this, The Gardens Between.
No, but I have it on my wish list.
Yeah, it was surprisingly. It did strike me a little bit because it's got this game mechanic of it's like a boy and a girl. You know, it's kind of a wordless story, so they're just friends or brother and sister, whatever. You're not sure, and you can control them, move them. It's this rotating landscape, and as you move them away from each other, the timeline of the surroundings moves, and that's what. So all you ever do is move back and forth, make someone stop, and move the other one, and it moves things in the background and creates things, and it's only like 2 or 3 hours long. And when it finished, and like the ending sequence happened, I was sat there holding the control, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool, and it was just a really nice little story told well, and purely told through gameplay.
Yeah,
very good gameplay. So,
it's a completely different thing, but I'll mention a game called Gorogoa, which is on PC and Switch. Maybe it's on other platforms, but that had it's not that similar, but in that it's like a puzzle game where it's to do with perception as well. And with that, it's like you get like a nice
Christopher Nolan film.
No,
that's Batman Begins.
But in that, you get like a beautiful hand-drawn scene, and it's all about like zooming in on certain bits of it, and then you kind of like switch out your zoom perspective and fit that into another scene in a way. It's really really odd. It's really really strange, but it really, like, as you zoom in, it will change your perception of what that object is.
Oh, that's cool.
And then that will fit against another scene and create like a staircase, say, or something like that. So you'll like zoom in on like a shelf and that zoom in it and then use it on another picture, and it
As a
becomes
step or
like
something.
like a platform for a guy to walk along.
This seems like a really neat idea.
It is a very neat idea. It can get a bit trial and error sometimes, but it's fine. Yeah, it's worth checking out.
Sleeping Dogs. I really, really like that game. I love the soundtrack, I love the driving mechanics, and the combat was really meaty, and I quite like the story. And I just thought, well, wicked, I can't wait for the sequel. And then they didn't release one. So I played it again. And I really enjoy it. And
It's basically John Woo thing?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
No, that's...
I know the one you're thinking of, but...
I can see the cover with Chow Yun Fat,
Bullet...
Proof Monk,
No.
Boiling Point, with Arnold Vosloo.
You sure it's not Billy Zane?
I'll find that out. I've probably got it behind me now. But yeah, Sleeping Dogs, really loved it, and I just thought, oh, surely they're going to knock out a sequel, because it's just a nice, slightly different sort of twist on the GTA formula, and they never did. And I've always hated them for it. But I think it had a lot of problems upon release with publishing and development. There was because it was originally going to be True Crime Hong Kong, and they just changed it and then sold the rights around it. Eventually got released, and I really liked it. And I played. I think the one I've got at the moment on the PS4 is the remaster, and just
it's kind of third person, and there's brawling, and you can use the environment to smash people's heads and stuff. So,
classic.
Quite kind of kung fu-y type.
I do like sort of Japanese martial arts films and Korean martial arts films and stuff, so I think it just ties into my love of that as well. Yeah. And I prefer it to Yakuza because it's not some weird spiritual success to Shenmue, which is just like slightly tedious and wandering around.
But at least you get to go to work in a game.
At least I get to have a menial job in a game. Lego City Undercover.
Oh yeah.
Because I just love games that genuinely make me laugh, and there are so many bits in that game that really tickle me, and it was kind of held back a little bit by Wii U, its ability.
Yeah.
And I would like to play it again on like the PS4 or something, but I found it so much fun though.
It's so good, and it's genuinely like one of the best written games I've ever played, because it's just so funny. Otherwise, it's genuinely like proper like film quality kind of script. It's that good.
Yeah, that you kind of jump around and collect stuff. So
it's sort of like it's a reasonable GTA type game as well.
Yeah.
Like it does actually change the Lego game formula enough to make it interesting, because I do find
standalone thing is because they are very formulaic. The Lego games. Zombie U. Just because I had a lot of fun with that. I thought that was a really nice little underrated gem that I played it with Faye, and it was just cool. You know, you're going at the rucksack and you're like...
Yeah.
So really like that.
That was good. That was a good game.
Trine 4. And the last ones I've got here then, just to sort of rest through a little bit. The Metro series, because it combined my love of really janky, like slightly cumbersome like Russian games with just a total misery.
Yeah.
I just played through it just
always
thinking,
good for a laugh.
It's such a hopeless situation. One of those things that you think, even if the end of this game pans out as well as it possibly can, you're still going to be living just in like utter misery. And I just love that as I was got Ultium, and you just like people just when you wake up in the morning after saving your game and you're walking through to go down the next tunnel, and there's just people sitting around going, you think, morning. So it really tickled me. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was quite a digression for Nintendo, wasn't it?
And just a bit of a shout out to Wajitai Games and Grundislav Games, because they just still make really tasty pixel art, point-and-click adventures like Unavowed and Lamplight City. Just really, really fun games that show, and Gemini Rue, that show that formula just still has plenty of life in it, with a good story behind it and solid writing. That's it.
Good. Excellent. Good honourable mentions.
Yeah, thank you very much. So now we go into the most disappointing.
I
talked for a while, so you can talk for a while.
I mean, I haven't actually got that many, which is good.
No, same here. I've got like 1, 2,
you don't want to drag it down too much.
6.
And I've really focused on the ones. They're not even bad games, but disappointing games, given what's come before, because that's why some sequels. I'm going to mention now that Alien Isolation is not one of these.
Don't worry, got it covered.
Okay, good. The reason being that I found my peace with it now, and I realised that because
Did you have a mod that removes the alien then or something?
well, obviously I've been playing on novice mode, always novice mode, because it's actually playable and fun, just about. I think part of it is because I realised that there's no other game they could have made. It doesn't necessarily mean they should have made it, but I love like the production, the art design so much, because their whole ethos behind it was brilliant. The idea that they basically went back to the original Alien, and their kind of ethos was if the technology couldn't have existed then, or couldn't have been kind of imagined or made on set then, we won't have it in the game, which means that you get so many, like, it's just a beautiful place to like look at, and there's constant like whir of like tape decks and stuff. Love it, love that part of it.
But not the gameplay.
Yes, troubling, but I don't think there's any other game they could have made, because there's nothing. I was thinking maybe they could make an RPG, but that isn't really what Alien was. It wasn't really
It's a survival thing.
Yeah, so it's the only game they could have made, and I kind of like, I tend to, I struggle through it just to look at the world they've created. So it's hard to say I'm disappointed, because I don't think there's anything else they could have done. That's my reason behind it. You have got it on your list, so we might as well talk about it now, about your feelings about it.
It just, I remember playing it, and I know we tend to go back to it a lot on this show, but I was just fed up of hiding. After playing Dishonored, and after playing Amnesia, and then playing that, and after playing Outlast, and then that, and I just thought, I'm just fed up of, like, I feel like I'm just wasting my time in the game.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what you say about the production design, sound design, and everything.
Yeah.
What you really want is a walking simulator through there without the alien.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think if you had a weapon that would just, if the alien would like jump out, so you get that shock factor, and you can just shoot it and like stun it or something, it would just make it more fun than just just go back under the table then.
There is a flamethrower. I realised playing through it the second time, that the flamethrower is something where if you get enough time, you can flame it, it will run away, and you can go and like get the hell out of there, sort of thing. But yeah, I know what you mean.
And when they brought the robots in, you hide them from those.
Yeah.
They bring something else in, you hide them from those. It just felt really, I don't know, I just really wasn't my thing.
Yeah,
and I didn't like it so much that it's put me off that entire genre now as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Outlast and stuff like that, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't be doing with that. But yeah, I agree. It's deeply flawed. But I only mention it because it's not on this list for me. A game which is on this list is Hollow Knight, because
Is this the one with the map thing?
the map thing. Yeah, I know the reason it's on there is because people swear by it.
We've got friends who say it's one of the best games of the year.
And I love Metroidvanias, but I think for me, it's irritating by design, and it just doubles down on the worst impulses of Metroidvanias. It's specifically regarding navigation. Like, the whole map system is so ridiculously convoluted, and the death system is so punishing that it's almost anti-fun. It's like they had a good game, good exploration Metroidvania game with some decent combat in it, and decide, right, how can we strip away, how can we make it less fun, and have it so that, alright, so if I die over here, then you get sent back to your checkpoint 1,000 miles away, but you haven't got a map, so you have to then venture back to where you got to without dying to retrieve the stuff which allows you to progress, because you need that stuff in order to buy a map off someone, buy the pins that go on the map to actually identify what places are and stuff like that. It's just ridiculous. So
it just seems like micromanagement.
Yeah.
With on the same thing with Super Epic, a game I really played and enjoyed recently, the map was generally almost broke the game for me as well, because it was so badly designed. I just thought, oh, this is a game you can't go away from for more than like 5 minutes, because you'll just get completely lost, and even if you do stick with it, you'll get lost. And that's not the worst part of a Metroidvania, is just mindlessly wandering, hoping you come across something.
It's always about the navigation, and we'll come to games which do it well. So other games on the disappoint disappointments list. Fable 3. I'm mentioning this because it's actually a really good game.
It's funny you should say that, Rupert, because the entire trilogy's on you.
It is a good game, but it's also the kind of zenith, or possibly nadir, of Peter Molyneux's like complete BS that he was coming out with at the time. Because the thing is about Peter Molyneux is
He made Syndicate.
I still respect him greatly because he, I mean, I don't think he's a programmer, but he oversaw at least Bullfrog. So of course that meant Populous 2, Syndicate, Flood, one of my favourite platform games. All these great games, genuinely great games. But every time a Fable game came up, he was making these promises about the kind of expansive nature of it and like the kind of things that would be possible to do in it. And really, it's just a kind of quite solid, linear, like cartoony RPG. And they were good games, progressively even got better and better. But yeah, it highlighted the disparity between what Peter Molyneux was promising and what was actually delivered.
On that note, because I've got the trilogy on mine. Fable was the last game. The original Fable was the last game I pre-ordered because it turned out I paid like 40 odd quid for it. I was working on an island at the time, so I got it sent over. And when I played it, I'd just come off the back of playing Morrowind.
Yeah.
And when I put it on, I thought
that must have been a jolt.
Oh, this is just a really like cartoony, linear jaunt through like a pretty generic world. And yeah, the good and bad, light and dark thing was kind of cool, but then I don't remember anything about Fable 2. And I've tried to play Fable 3, I would say 6 or 7 times, and every time I just think, there's just something about these games that really irritate me and just do not suck me in at all. I have fonder memories of Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning than I do of the entire Fable series. So yeah, they're just disappointing.
Yeah.
That's what and this isn't like the worst games, obviously, because if it was, we'd be talking about Inspector Case and Robot. But just for disappointment, just getting something and having this, and then,
yeah,
okay,
that's what it is. And it was particularly it was particularly bad with the Fable games just because of the way that Peter Molyneux hyped them up,
yeah.
and it was quite almost unethical the way that he would do that. So that was annoying. There's loads of sequels here. Darksiders 3.
Because we don't know what we.
Again, it's actually a good game. Good game. Well, it wasn't that good when it first came out. Although now they've, I noticed when I went back to it on PC, they've patched in like classic controls. I'm not sure how much difference it really makes, but it does seem a little bit more fluid. But they essentially what they tried to do with Darksiders 3 is take that kind of very arena-based kind of combat, kind of overpowered type combat, but they got a lot of inspiration from Dark Souls, so which doesn't really work in that particular game, because especially when you play War, I think in that one. Is it War?
No.
Which one is it? It's Death, because Death, War,
Strife.
She's like really angry all the time. Anyway,
Fury,
yes. And she's a cool character, and she's really funny because she's just constantly really aggressive towards everyone, really needlessly, and she's so reluctant to like rescue humans and stuff. So that's all cool. But of course, and she says all this stuff about like how like anyone she comes across, she's just so completely confident that she just better beat them. But of course, that runs up against the actual gameplay where you feel kind of weirdly underpowered, especially if there's like more than one enemy, because of course you've got this annoying
damage
camera. Yeah, and the camera doesn't quite work how you want it to, so if there's more than one enemy, you just get slammed from behind, and it's like, I don't have that sense of being like a real like overpowered godlike hero in this at all. I just feel like I'm really vulnerable.
Yeah, really
like
vulnerable, like a half-dressed woman.
I just don't think that the Dark Souls formula worked with that particular game at all, and especially when of course so much was backtracking and stuff, so then you're working your way back through these enemies who will just pop out of like boxes and stuff like that and slam you. So it's like, so I've got to walk, not only that, but I've also got to be really careful and tentative in my steps, sort of thing. It didn't quite work for me at all. I mean, in terms of the writing and stuff, it still worked, and the boss designs were brilliant. But yeah, the actual core gameplay, not so much.
It's a shame.
Another number 3, so that's Fable 3, Darksiders 3, Dead Space 3 is the next one. And this was because up to Dead Space 1 and 2,
Yeah. 2 being
yeah,
in the back.
this one weighted so much more towards kind of action. It was obviously like
It's the Resident Evil issue, isn't it?
yeah, it was like it seemed really. It was like it was made by committee or something. It was like they looked at like Call of Duty or whatever was out at the time, because I don't know when Dead Space 3 was, 2010 or
I'm
something.
going to take my trousers off.
The thing is, not even a euphemism. That's literally what you're doing in front of me.
know.
I'm staring at a man in a tiny room, taking his trousers off.
Yeah, sorry, mate. They're just really uncomfortable. There we go. That's fine.
Yeah, and then so the balance was all lost from like the kind of so much less kind of survival horror, much less kind of atmosphere or tension building. It became like a shoot 'em up. The point at which, I think we've mentioned this in the previous podcast, but the point at which I dropped out of it was when I literally thought the game was bugged in some way, because
They kept
there were
on
hordes of
respawning,
enemies kept on respawning. I thought, am I meant to do, is this like a Call of Duty thing where in that the formula is that you've got to get to the next like mini checkpoint in order to trigger the next event? And I think it was that, but it just seemed bugged to me, and I just thought, this is not for me. This is
Everything about it was like a little bit. The whole side quest thing was just completely felt broken, because the side quest just seems so nominal. Just sort of, oh, this is happening. Oh, someone's just left a tape that I've listened to, and they said they've hidden something under their pillow. I don't care. Yeah, I've just found a ferric tape floating through space, and also the gun creation was weirdly just unimpressive. It wasn't. It just felt like they all kind of did the same sort of thing.
it felt like a real kind of bro gunplay type game rather than a kind of schlocky B-movie horror. Another third in the series, wow. BioShock Infinite. Is that third? Yeah. Which was a cool concept, like the floating city in the sky and stuff.
Again, I think we've covered this before.
We have covered it before, I'm sure. And but I think it's because it came out around the same time as Dishonored, which did a lot of the stuff better in a way. I mean,
similar visuals as well.
Yeah, well, that was the thing which really reminded me of it. But in, of course, Dishonored, you've got so many options of how to approach stuff, and that was really cool. But in BioShock Infinite, you had these literally on-rails bits, of course, if you remember, like
the
flying around on rails.
things.
Yeah. And I found that the kind of storytelling was always in opposition to the game design. And
yes.
It was a real struggle, because, of course, you're desperately trying to get this woman out of the city, and it's like a desperate rush, and you just got to get past these enemies. But at the same time, halfway through like a gunfight, it'd be like, oh, she'd be pointing at something like, should we go and explore in there? And it's like, well, clearly not, because there's like gunships and stuff I'm getting shot at, and like, am I really going to go into that? Like,
it's almost like
West saloon?
the game should have had no side quests, and you pound through that escape thing, and then it should have restarted with like a secondary protagonist coming down, and then exploring.
It didn't seem coherent at all.
And it just wasn't interesting as the original BioShock.
Yeah,
it was the original one was so atmospheric, and then the third one I just thought,
well, the
just seemed like I'm a Victorian fun fair.
The original was like, there's a reason for you like going off the beaten track, sort of thing, to go and
try and find out what's happening.
There was a survival horror element, and you were completely in the dark. And there wasn't anyone.
Did you
else.
adjust the contrast? Dad?
Dad? Like he would shout Dad.
Yeah, there you go. A chain of people constantly trying to rediscover the ghost of their parents.
A Mobius strip of dads.
I just did a Mobius strip, didn't I, when I took my kegs off?
That would be the name of my strip bar, the Mobius strip.
Well, there would just be a constant loop of nakedness.
Yeah, just be like everyone just be on stage gifting. And finally, Fallout 76, because it was so misguided from the beginning, and it couldn't ever really work. The only way something like that can work is if it's a completely open playground in a kind of style of like DayZ or something like that. But then it's going to be so niche, so you can't pour $150 million into it or whatever. So it was never really going to work, the idea of this massively multiplayer Fallout game, because of course the other Fallout games are so carefully crafted to kind of lead you along this this adventure of like initially this kind of despair at this world, and then gradually becoming more powered up until, you know, well, you've got power armor. Or in Fallout 4, we get power armor for about 10 minutes.
I'd never use power armor. I just find it because it just completely detracts from what I want, which is wander around with a rusty gun and 2 bullets jingling in my pocket. I'm there for different guns.
It was I've written here it's a user-friendly apocalypse, and it was kind of, and it meant it was because it was all based on other players, kind of making the stories, if you like. It was completely devoid of atmosphere because it was just gave you loads of stuff to do, like feral ghouls instantly. There was no like build up. There was no
just they're all there.
There was no real story progression.
I've got to say as well on that, what I think we said this to you before, what I found really funny about Fallout 76 is there's whole sequences in the game, whole like adventure quest paths where it's, God, I found out what happened to like Jeff Robertson, and he's dead. They're all dead. There's no people. Everyone's dead. Dave, everyone's dead. I just found it ridiculous that. Yeah. And then of course they did the ridiculous thing where you can have like a private server for like £200 a second.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, the only way I could have been attracted to it is if it had been a really stripped back kind of open playground for like where there are no rules and the people make their own rules. But of course, what it really was, it was conceived instead of something stripped back and bare. It was conceived as a massive fat cash cow, and that's how it was proven with Fallout First or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Just is that your last one?
That was my last one.
I do dip in and out of it every now and again because I like the Fallout series so much, and I've played all of them apart from Brotherhood of Steel. But after like an hour or two, I think I'm not enjoying this, and it happens every time. I haven't installed it now. But I know that in like a couple of weeks I'll think I'll give it another crack and I'll just be in
hoping that it's a bit different game when you boot it up.
And it won't. So the most disappointing for me, number one, Hello Neighbour on any system it's ever released on. Because it was the first time that I was like got it sent to review and I was doing like a little bit of research on the development cycle of it and stuff. And everything about it just seemed really toxic and nasty. And when it was released and it was like demonstrably this broken, awful thing, but it was people still leaping to its defence, and I thought, I don't know why.
And seeking deeper meaning.
Yeah,
something which was
utterly shallow, so superficial. Yeah, and just I really struggled with every aspect of it.
It wasn't a disappointment to me because you told me how bad it was.
I was hoping that you would play it and feel the same because I thought if you like, oh no, it's kind of fun actually.
I don't know how anyone could not feel the same. When I had the chance to review it when it came out on Switch, I jumped at the chance and it was absolutely loathsome. From start to finish, about 20 minutes later, or whatever it was.
I just find it hard to believe that you're from Tiny Build sometimes. Alien Isolation, which we've covered. This is a bit of a harsh one because it's a freeway game. But Ben Croshaw's the Chisholm Mythos. Ben Croshaw from Zero Punctuation, because I played these games. There's 5 Days a Stranger, 7 Days a Skeptic, 6 Days. The Trilby Notes and 6 Days of Sacrifice. So I played them with my brother years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, and then we replayed them again a few weeks ago as like a nostalgia trip. I don't see my brother that often, so we said, right, we'll sit here and we'll just play through them all. And 5 Days of Stranger and 7 Days of Skeptic are fine. They're really good and they're like quite nifty little point-and-click adventure games. And then Trilby's Notes and especially 6 Days of Sacrifice, what happens is we played it with the like developers commentary.
Yes.
And when it was the first 2 games, Ben Croshaw is every time we go to a new room or a new event, he'll talk about the design of it and the reasons behind the design. If it's a reference to films, it's really interesting.
You mentioned this before. This is where he gets really pretentious.
And tellingly, by the time he gets to and they do just literally degenerate in quality of the series. By the time you get the last one, which is just set in like a really sort of small underground bunker, all that the game is about is just trying desperately to tie together this massively convoluted, overarching narrative that isn't really displayed on screen. So by the time you get all these things, these seemingly random things are happening, and of course it's basically made and it's this Hello Neighbour problem where fan theories abound, and he's trying to tie them into the game, and he kind of contradicts himself where the developer commentary will say, oh yeah, this is just a mistake. Oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. But then at the end of the game, because I did finish all 4 of them, he's just saying, oh, you can, all the answers are there, and I thought, well, you've just admitted about these fan theories, you've just admitted there are errors in the game, and now and every single commentary box was him, like lines and lines of text trying to explain the context and the background and the mythology, so when you see this 20-second little cutscene, you can make sense of it. And it was crushingly tedious by the end of it. So that was one of the most disappointing. The first two are still good. I played through 5 Days of Stranger again tonight. I really enjoy it, but that was disappointing. Dollhouse, which came out this year for the PS4, and this Where's Hello Neighbour stuck at the knife in the part of me that deals with my distaste for like really toxic fandom and development, really like untrue developers who are kind of untrue. Dollhouse is the perfect representation of a misleading trailer, and I really despise those where the what you see in the trailer is just not reflected in the game at all. It's, if you watch the trailer for Dollhouse, it's this kind of abstract, swooping kind of mystery, noirish, and here we go. And it's actually just a really tedious free Steam game where you just wander around a procedurally generated maze looking at mannequins. And I just thought, oh no, I'm not having any of that. So that was terrible. The Fable series, which we've already discussed, and there's Diablo 3. Because I never played any of the Diablo games, and I know they're so well loved. So when I got the chance to play Diablo 3, played it with my friend Chris, and I felt like I was just doing this.
That's because that's what you are doing. Oh yeah, but
I'll just press this button. Oh yeah,
but
just
remember,
a slightly different colour coming out of my hands now.
Yeah. But remember, an hour later, you can start doing this.
Yeah, and I thought, my God, and the story was just tedious. The best part of it was, I'm 35! So, yeah, playing that.
And it was very telling, the fact that we were able, because when we did it for the charity live stream, because our challenge was to beat it in 10 hours or whatever, we realised that we were way behind, because we were trying to like defeat everything, and we realised that you're able just to run past, it was on the hardest difficulty mode as well, you just run past all the enemies.
It's like, well,
if that's possible, then that's not good.
And because all the enemies level up with you, you're not losing anything, because you it's not that you get a new weapon, and that weapon is only good for that level or the next one before you just get made redundant. So
exactly, yeah. Well, that's the thing as well. Like, it's like over looted as well. I've noticed that because I played through it single player as well, and of course for the first few hours you're like, "Ooh, got a new weapon, that's cool," but then they drop so frequently, and it's like. There's no point in getting attached to something because it's going to be gone in literally about 5 minutes. Yeah, you're going to pick literally 5.
And by the end of it as well, the level design was it seems so lazy. The latter half of the game. And
visually, it looks good and it runs well.
It runs like a dream. But I was looking forward to playing it for so long. When it finally came out, I just thought, oh my God! And even with 3 of us having a few beers, it was still tedious. That was which is telling.
That is the telling part, because usually you can, if it's a 3-player co-op, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
But like the most fun...
look at you, Mother Russia bleed.
The fun was in like laughing at it rather than laughing along with it, if you see what I mean. That was the funny part.
And then when we finished it, and there was that expansion pack that came through with it, and we all just said, it just kicks you into that, and we all said, no, I'm not doing that again.
By the letter of the law, we've completed this task.
And I put this on there just because it was a weird one, and it's a bit unfair, but I'm going to mention it. It's American Fugitive, which I played on the Switch, and it's because when it came out, again, going back to this sort of shakedown OI thing, it's kind of isometric top-down GTA with an awesome sort of western dusty soundtrack
over Kuda
sort of sort of like lazy slide with like a tremolo effect.
Good.
And then over sort of the Midwest, like trailer park sort of stuff. Really lovely setting, and the frame rate is diabolical. And they kept on saying, we'll release a patch, and if it did improve the frame rate, it caused other problems. And then by the end of it, I just thought, well, this is never going to be like 100% playable, technically. And I know it's a small team, so I finished it. And then as I was kind of getting into it, it just ended, and it just kind of wrapped up, and that was it.
They ran out of money.
And I thought, for the first 3 hours of this, I thought this could easily be a game of the year for me. I was loving it. I loved the weighty swinging of the cars, and the kind of basic story, and how fun it was to just rob places, and the disguises, the fact you could just wear a dress to throw for the cops. It was all fine. And then the technical aspect of it completely ground it down for me.
It sounds like that was an under-resourced development team
Yeah.
more than so it's almost like you feel disappointed for them.
Yeah, which is why it's. But I just wanted to mention it because I played through it and I thought I really wish this had a stable frame rate. I really wish that someone had just injected money into the company so they could round it off properly. It really felt like a slightly missed opportunity, and I hope that the next game they do is a similar thing, but just done a little bit more tightly.
Yeah, maybe keep an eye out on the developers. Yeah. Good, right. All right. See you next time.
We're just concentrating the total worst. So yeah, the top 10s now.
Good. So, the top 10, our favourite games of the last decade.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say top 10, it's not objectively the best.
So number 1 for me, Alien Isolation and The Lone Neighbour. Joint first, couldn't decide. So go on, you go first. You're the guest.
Okay, I've done mine in order, but
apple for teacher.
you just couldn't commit.
No, I couldn't. I just put them. I just seems unfixed. There's such different genres.
I know, that's true actually, yeah. But I guess I'm just more brutal than you.
More dedicated. Go on then.
Number 10, I have Thumper, which was released in 2016.
Game of the decade.
Yep. No, it's number 10. So
of thousands.
Yeah, Thumper.
That's the one where you're like a chrome beetle on rails.
Yes, so it's an on-rails rhythm nightmare, they called it. But yeah, you're a chrome beetle and racing down this track towards just oblivion, towards the abyss. And
Oh, my dad, really? On the bus to Gwent.
driving his beetle. Yeah, and it's all very reaction-based, but it's quite... Like, at the start, it's all just, like, single button. Gradually, they get more and more complicated until you're doing some pretty elaborate moves in very quick succession. I played this on PC.
yeah.
I also bought it on Switch because I love it so much. And I
Is it
have
60 FPS on Switch? Nice. Who are the developers?
Drool. I don't know what else they've done. I think they're called Drool. It's also on PSVR, which I imagine would be.
Oh, why did I get that? We could. Mine, you've got PS. That'll be one for Faye, I think.
It's the only game on the list that I will never beat because it gets to a point where it's so intensely hard. But saying that, it is like a brutal kind of nightmare after a while, but it's not punishing.
Enough about your marriage. The game.
It isn't punishing because you get kind of mini checkpoints all the way through, so you only go back to the last checkpoint.
So it's not punishing, but you've just hit your skill limit with it.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that because, you know, I still played it. I think it's something like 8 kind of chapters or whatever. Maybe I'm on chapter 6, and it becomes challenging, I won't lie. But so it's a rhythm game. It's got this weird, kind of really intense, heavy drum-based music. It's not exactly dance music, but it's just like real heavy kind of...
Techno?
Not really. Like, they're really weird industrial drums, really, and they use weird increasingly complex time signatures to mess about with your rhythm sort of thing.
That's
Always rhythmic, but like really weird time signatures. And it is really one of a kind. There's nothing else I've ever played like it. And what I love about it so much is, apart from like the aesthetic and the music and stuff like that, is the gameplay puts you into this kind of, like, when you're really, really hips deep into it, then it puts you in a kind of zen state of absolute concentration, which I'd never experienced in another game before, because like it almost like it's shifted your brain chemistry or something like that, because you get so kind of like innately entwined with the controls and like the flow of it, that it can feel so satisfying when you do complete, like, beat a boss or whatever, because that requires some pretty complex work. And it's all about kind of reactions and stuff like that, and it's the reason why streaming games is never going to work. It can't, because you can't have any input lag whatsoever. It just can't happen. I tried playing it on Steam Link with a wired connection, you know, so it's as fast as it can be, amazing internet, milliseconds too slow for that level of reaction. So it's a good advert against game streaming. So love it. And yeah,
you've got your Switch with you, haven't you?
I do.
I have a little goosey that later.
Yeah.
on. I'm tourist as well. What? Okay, so
Taurus is a good game.
what I'll do then is I'll go from the bottom up on mine. They're not in order,
Yeah,
but I'll
okay.
just so bottom Mass Effect 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because with I remember playing the original Mass Effect and thinking, click, because it was so micromanaging and it was so text heavy and just dense with lore. And I played it, and the combat was really clunky, and I just thought, no, this is a little bit too Star Trek-y for me. A little bit too. Do you know what I mean? That kind of. I feel like I've been thrown into a world, and I don't really. I'm not in the mindset to like learn about it all.
If you didn't like the dialogue, but if you went into like dialogue stuff, then and getting into the lore, it wasn't much to offer in the first game because the combat was not great.
And there was just a lot of micromanaging in your inventory, from what I remember, with like different ammos and stuff.
God, yeah.
So I went completely off the first one, and then a lot of people, my brother and I think you said Mass Effect 2 is good, and I played it, and obviously like I fancy all the women and all the men because
Alien or otherwise.
Steve Bloom voiced Grunt, and that was fine, absolutely fine for me. You obviously know Steve Bloom from Bulletstorm, and he voiced Wolverine in the animated.
Of course.
You know,
who wouldn't know that?
I think he might have voiced a load of people in the Arkham series as well. I think he might have done some
Good.
stuff. So yeah, I just fancy Steve Bloom, and so love Mass Effect 2, especially Grunt. He never left my troop, no matter what was happening. Even if I was going on like as an emissary to like a chapel, I would take Grunt.
Was Grunt? Which one was he? One of the big.
He was like the real
hulking,
kind of.
I can't remember what.
Loved him. Loved him. The moment he opened his mouth, I thought, Steve, thank you. Really loved that. Really liked all the dialogue, and even the mining. Thought that was kind of a fun little mini game.
Good balance.
Yeah,
good balance between like the RPG elements and the story elements and the action,
which was fun,
which
much
went really well.
More intuitive.
Third one went heavily into like more cinematics.
Yes, and I will play the third one one day, but I got put off so much by my brothers, because my brother knows me really well. He knows what I like. He just said you would find it really unrewarding, and I thought, well, if I'm playing it as a conclusion to a story, and I'm going to find that unrewarding, am I going to pump 60 hours into it? And the answer
is yes.
Yes, it is. So yeah, I will play it at some point, but there's just seems to be other better games to play at the moment. So yeah, Mass Effect 2 is in my top 10.
Top 10, but not number 10.
No,
that's not how you laid it out.
Because I didn't put the effort in.
My number 9 is Ori and the Blind Forest, made in 2015. Played this on PC because I think now on Switch, but at the time it was only PC and Xbox. This is my favourite Metroidvania of the decade.
Okay.
Because I love Metroidvania. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous to the eye and the ear, and it's got a very dreamlike and evocative kind of atmosphere and aesthetic, quite mystical, but crucially it's kind of sweet without being twee, because you know how a lot of games can be painfully twee. And there is a story, can't really remember it, but that's kind of in the background. And you think it's quite simple. You're basically lost trying to go back somewhere, which is fine. And but the focus is definitely on really nice, crisp gameplay. It's tough, and it does have the occasional difficulty spike when you have to do these kind of chase sequences. But again, it's not punishing. It really wants just to keep flowing. So, you know, you have one of these chase sequences where you get like attacked by this enormous owl, and that's all very like pixel perfect, like, you know, like in Rayman, where you're trying to do the rhythm levels and you've got to get everything kind of right. It's that sort of thing, but with really stirring music, and it's quite exciting. It's almost like a living cartoon. And okay, you mess up, but you go back a couple of minutes. Not like Hollow Knight, where you go back miles away and
to when you're 14 years old going through puberty.
So that's great. It's beautifully designed. It removes or suppresses a lot of the most tedious aspects of Metroidvania, which is, of course, navigation and stuff. It's got a very natural way. You'll always know where you're meant to be going. So it'll have like a point on the map, even if you haven't discovered that yet.
So it's like,
so you point there and it's like, okay, how do I get there? I know basically I've got to go north or whatever, you know, that sort of thing. So the design is such so it feels exploratory without being a grind. Yeah. I
haven't played that, and it's one of those games that I should play for your top. I think what I'm going to do is these ones from your top 10 that I haven't played, I'm going to make a point in January, February of just going through when I'm a bit quieter. that seems up my street as well.
Yeah.
I would say my favourite Metroidvania of the last 10 years, it was Shadow Complex.
Oh yeah,
Because
I haven't played it.
I haven't played it. I got it on the PC in like a bundle or something. And you know when you get like about 40 games for threepence? And I was just clicking through them, and I was like just checking them to see what they were like. Boom, finished it in one sitting, 5 hours.
Good.
Chucked it on. Just literally, it starts off and you're just a dude having a picnic with your girlfriend. She gets taken off and you just go and find her. And that is the game, and you discover this kind of underground fortressy thing.
Oh, nice.
Spoiler alert. But 5 hours long, and it made me realise, oh my god, I love Metroidvanias, and I completely forgot about them. And totally fell in love with it. I think I played the remastered version, I'm not sure what the differences are. Really intuitive, can't really get lost, obvious what you got to do next, and like a nice conclusion to the story, boom, done, dead. So I really liked it. It's clearly not the best Metroidvania, but
I think I can
completely lit my fire for them again.
I can happily play an average Metroidvania and be fine with it, play it all the way through. Mummy Returns wasn't that great. Good Metroidvania though, you know, fine with that. Gato Roboto probably wasn't that good.
No, it was like a beginner's guide
cool
to
aesthetic, and
a funny story as well.
Yeah, it is. It is funny.
Yeah.
So, well, Ori and the Blind Forest. Yeah, I played it again recently because there's a demo on Steam. Not Steam, on Switch. Just to check out, see how it runs. It runs nice on Switch, and crucially, it still feels good, because sometimes you can go back and play an old Metroidvania and you're like, ooh, this doesn't quite feel as nice as I remember it. I'm looking at you, Dust, and Elysian Tale, because I went back and played that and I loved it the first time I played it, but it feels kind of clunky now. But Ori, really smooth, really nice. Sequel in the works.
Oh, really? Well, I'm again working up my list, so obviously number 9 on my games of the decade, Peggle. Yes, Peggle. I got that on the PS3, and there's something about it, like you said, the Zen state thing. I found it so relaxing and just so charming and like so lilting with the music and the sound effects. It's like ASMR. I just play it and I think, oh, I love this game. I finished it, Peggle nights, and I'm playing Peggle 2 at the moment. And I find it's just, if I'm in a bad mood, I think, oh, I'm just gonna play some Peggle. I'll just chuck some Peggle on, okay?
That's it. I'm going in the other room to play Peggle.
Yeah, right. I've had enough of this. I'm gonna go to play Peggle. So yeah, it's just a game I keep going back to, and I just want to just like zone out a little bit, and it just cheers me up. Not cheers me up, relaxes me is the term I would use. But yeah, Faye loves it, and it's just one of those things where it's like late, and you think, oh, I can't really concentrate. A little bit of Peggle.
What are the core mechanics of the game?
It's like a mixture between sort of like a 2 pence falls and pachinko, basically. So it's like a lot of, you've got these Zen masters, these Peggle masters, and it's like a unicorn and or like a troll or something. The Peggle 2 is especially funny because they're all kind of based on film characters. Like the troll is called Jeff, and he just spouts lines from The Big Lebowski. Good. So it's sort of like you'll have orange pegs, and there's 30 orange pegs, and you've got to hit all of them, but you've only got 10 balls. So it's all about like hitting them off the other ones to bounce down, and I absolutely love it.
I'm gonna have to check this out. I keep seeing it. I see it online.
Rai will love it. She will be like, "Yep, that's perfect."
What do you play it on? What?
Peggle 2 is on PS4.
Yeah. It's going to be on other systems.
Oh yeah. It should be on every system.
I'm seeing it on what is it? Is it Microsoft game? No, it can't be. I suppose if it's on PS4. Where do I keep seeing it? I bet it's on
PopCap.
It's EA, isn't it? Because EA own PopCap. I keep seeing it on Origin, and because it's like they always put that front and centre on money. Why do they keep advertising that game like it's a real?
Because it's number 9, best 9th game of the decade. That's why it's on there.
Okay, number 8 is Broforce.
It's on you, baby.
There we go.
There
we go. I like Broforce. It's a 2D side-scrolling co-op shooter platform game.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it is based. All the characters are based around. So the idea is you're working towards going through each level, kill the kind of guy at the end.
One guy at the end,
and then get out in a helicopter. Like multiplayer co-op, hilarious because like if you die, you're resurrected as a different character, and all the characters are based on
80s action stars.
80s and 90s sort of thing. Yeah. So you've got like
and 70s, I suppose. You've got Ellen Ripley, Britt, bro.
Yeah. So you've got like Terminator, you've got Cobra, Robocop.
And they've all got totally different attacks.
Snake Plissken. Yeah, and they're all totally different. That's the hilarious thing because of course some of them are just a bit useless.
So you're like, oh my god, there's because you just see like a cage with someone shaking the bars, and when you attack it, it bursts open, and you just, if you've died, you come back as whoever that is. And if you come back as MacGyver, it's like, oh wicked, I can throw dynamite about 2 feet, and that kills me as well. So you
and like
just
you got James
completely-
Bond, who's got like quite a cool gun, but then one of his special attacks is like throwing like a cocktail glass at them, and it's like, what? Brilliant.
Yeah, so and or like Snake Plissken, who's got like a really cool hologram that attracts the enemies, but his main gun goes about 3 feet.
Yeah.
Because it's just a submachine gun. So
It's so much fun.
It's whatever character you are, it's fun, and we've played through it twice and finished
And
it.
I
would do it again
I'd
today.
absolutely play through it, and I wouldn't just like play it again. I'd happily sit down and play through it start to finish with other people, because it's just so funny. It's always different.
Honourable mention as well for Mother Russia Bleeds for that.
Oh yeah. Good game. That's more like Streets of Ragey type thing.
That is brutal, that game. There's a Twitcher!
I was thinking about Broforce, like because what I wrote down was that I think about the kind of chaos you get in it, because sometimes you get into a situation where everything on the screen just explodes, and it's like, and you're all just wiped out.
What happened? Yeah.
But it isn't just randomized chaos. Like the chaos is down to like the fact that the chaos is fun is down to good game design.
Yeah.
It's like down to very careful game design, and I think the reason you know that is because you can just rush through it and like everyone's just like shooting everything and everything's blowing up. But if you try and play it properly, so to speak, without dying and carefully and tactically, that's possible too.
Yeah.
So it's
Cases
clear
for
that they've
everyone.
really thought about it, and it is, and like all like good kind of partyish like games like that,
Yeah.
it's like the more you try and play it properly, so to speak, the better it is, because you'll try and play it properly, try and do it tactically, then everything goes wrong, and that's even funnier.
But the amount of times in that game, much like in Trine, where it's like you're all there and you say, right, okay,
I'll drop.
you throw a grenade, and then when he's distracted, I'll climb up the ladder and shoot him from behind, and then someone will throw a grenade and it'll blow up mid-air, the enemy won't turn around, and you walk up, I'm dead. And it's all gone to pot. And then it's like, oh, the only one of us left now is MacGyver, and he's like, well, I can't make that jump because someone's blown away all the earth, but I'm gonna have to kill myself. It's just, and I hope I come back as Charles Bronson. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Such a good game. So yeah, Broforce number 8 for me.
Next for me is Mafia 2, which is not so much because of the game, but when I first met, I think it was 2011 it came out, when I first met Faye, she had a thing with 3D games where they just made her feel a bit like motion sickness, and she had dismissed 3D games. She loved 2D games, loved old pixel art game stuff, but I can't deal with 3D, it's too quick. And I happened to just say, oh, I've got Mafia 2, and I put it on, and what I did was I went in the menu and slowed down all of the turning, so it's quite slow. And of course, the cars are all from the 40s, so they're all slow anyway. It's got a really cool, like, sort of 30s, 40s jazz soundtrack, a really cool story, Mafia story, and it's a joy to just walk around the streets and explore. It's the game that got Faye into thinking, oh, I can appreciate 3D games now.
Nice.
Which is really cool, obviously. And following
Gateway
that,
to 3D.
the gateway to 3D, and following that, GTA 5, and we've played, a lot of really cool
LA Noire?
games.
Because that's a game which is lovely to experience, just not that much fun to play.
Or complete. So
The ending of that game.
bad. So yeah, it's Mafia 2, and I open the door, Richie. Remember that song on the soundtrack? Brilliant.
I can't say specifically.
Can't buy the soundtrack on vinyl. But yeah, just a really good, solid game, and one that I have started casually playing again. So yeah,
Good.
Mafia 2.
Did you ever get onto Mafia 3?
I did. I didn't like it. I don't know why. I think Mafia 2 held such a beautiful place in my heart
Yeah.
that when I played the third one, I just thought, oh, it hasn't got any of the charm of the other one. It's it just seemed like it's like rougher older brother.
Speaking of games set in the kind of 40s, so just a kind of aside on LA Noire, a recommended reading is an amazing article that was on Eurogamer, where one of the writers for Eurogamer, his grandfather was a cop in LA at the time that LA Noire is set. And of course, this guy had never played video games before, but he sat down with his grandfather to play LA Noire and just travel around the city and look at the sights and stuff. It's really fascinating because he's like talking about how like things he recognised, and like he tells stories about things that happened on certain streets and stuff. Is so cool. And like he points out where like it's not
Is
quite
this
right.
on YouTube? Because I put the link in.
It's not. It's just a written article.
Oh, it's a written article.
Yeah,
I'll check that out.
And but yeah, and he will like say, well, that street didn't quite lead onto there, but then other times you'll say that's absolutely perfect, like the way they've recreated it. So it's really, really cool read. It's like one of a kind.
Oh, fair play, that's cool.
Yeah. Number 7 for me is Celeste. This is 2018. It's quite a recent one.
You fancy that game?
I do enjoy that game.
In fact, I think from that I know what your number 1's going to be.
You do? Okay. We'll see. Cross out Hello Neighbour.
You just cross out Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
God, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is a good game.
I could just listen to the music.
Not even an honourable mention. Jesus.
Yeah, it's so thick.
Celeste is a 2D platformer. I think it's all single screens. Might be a bit of scrolling.
But mostly.
Yeah. And it is nice chunky pixel art, perfect controls, and except if you're using a Joy-Con on the Switch, where it's not, so you need a Pro Controller for that. But it's kind of known as a hardcore platformer because it's quite brutally difficult, especially when you get to the B-sides and the C-sides and stuff. But
what do you mean the B-sides and the C-sides?
They're like remixed levels and stuff,
right,
so they're just really tough. But it's all because you've basically got a jump, and you get double jump, and you got like dashing and all that kind of stuff.
Dashing, Donna, Blitzen.
Christmas theme, so we'll let it slide. But yeah, it's known as kind of hardcore platform, but it's also got like a wealth of accessibility options, and I call them accessibility options because some people would say, oh no, accessibility options are for people like disabilities, but no, accessibility is about how much of the content can you access with your level of ability, regardless of why that is. And with Celeste, it's got a whole menu for like, right, okay, give you an extra dash in midair, or slow the game down by like 25% or something to make it a little bit easier. So it's really, really welcoming at the same time.
What a stupid idea.
I know. Why make it accessible? I mean, I want my hardcore platformers to be completely elitist, so no one can play them except me,
and impenetrable to anyone who's just got not got like gnat quick reflexes.
It's got this whole metaphorical thing because you're climbing a mountain essentially, and there are occasional like cutscenes where you meet this guy who's like also going up the mountain, and your protagonist discusses kind of mental health, how she's prepared to give up.
Is Celeste your character or the mountain?
I think the mountain is called Celeste. Anyway, regardless, she is working her way up the mountain, and like it's quite open about the fact that she's like depressed. She feels constantly like she can't do it. Like it's too much for her. And of course, so it's one just big metaphor for like overcoming that sort of thing. But what's really nice about it is that it's very encouraging. Like this other character you keep meeting is saying you can do this sort of thing. You can defeat this mountain sort of thing. And even when you die, it's very encouraging. It gets you straight back into the game. It doesn't mock you in the way that what's that game called? Super Meat Boy will kind of mock you for like failing sort of thing. It's always like you can do it. It's always like keep positive. Pushing on. Yeah, and so it's a very positive game. And yeah, it's hard, but it's not insanely hard. And it's always really quick to snap you straight back into it. So if you die, you just go back to start the screen.
Yeah, which is key. Yeah.
So yeah, really positive, great game.
Nice ending controls. As well.
Yeah, lovely ending. Good. Yeah, very positive. So yeah, I'd quite happily, it's the kind of game you could just pick up again and just start playing.
So my number 7 is Super Meat Boy because it's really impenetrable.
I do like Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, to a point.
To a point, and then it just got to a point where I was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore.
So my next one is Deus Ex Human Revolution, because it's a game I've played through about 4 or 5 times start to finish, just because we were just chatting before we came in here to do this, and there's certain games that I will play just to get lost in them again, just to kind of get in in the music and the atmosphere of it. And Deus Ex, the original, was awesome, although it has dated, now obviously a lot now. So that was cool. And then the second one, I remember thinking it's okay. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people in Invisible War. Deus Ex Human Revolution was amazing. I thought it was great. Loved the story. Loved the voice acting. Adam, good. And that was just his mum. And the whole, and Elias Toufexis with his Oh God! Oh my God! I've got a pointy chin. Oh, sweet Lord, it's pointy.
His voice was, he was speaking from the back of the throat.
Yeah. If you
Okay, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
hang on, let me just go through the. Let me just go through this vent. So loved it, and then when I played Mankind Divided, it just didn't capture me in the same way.
Why do it?
There's something for a start. What I want when I play a sidebound game, I want it to be preferably raining all the time, constantly set at night, and preferably loads of people smoking fags. I don't ask for much, but then with this, wandering through like the cobbled streets of Prague, I just thought it's not. It just seemed to just not have the atmosphere of the other ones. So Deus Ex Human Revolution, I really really love that game.
It is a
So
good
that's
game.
one of my games of the decade.
It's the only Deus Ex game I've ever played, I think.
Really?
Oh, I did go play through Mankind Divided as well, but it's kind of like, it felt a bit forgettable the whole way through. It
Yeah,
didn't
which
really-
is it shouldn't be. The Deus Ex
No.
games, the one thing they shouldn't be is forgettable.
Yeah, I think I got to the final boss in Mankind Divided, and I couldn't beat him, but I didn't care that I couldn't beat him. And
Mankind Divided and Human Revolution as well. What I want to say about it is it's one of the few games that throughout the entirety of the runtime, one of the three or four dialogue options, it always covered what I wanted to say.
Right.
And because he's like a relatively blank slate, you feel like anything you say wouldn't be out of the character you create for him
yes,
through dialogue. And I thought that was really clever.
unlike the Batman Telltale games, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, which you may as well just watch on YouTube because it's like do you want to kick?
Sorry,
Do you want
what would Batman say?
Yeah, do you want to kick him in the ass or throw a batarang at his face? And you're like, well, what would Batman do? I'm not saying what I would do.
Yeah.
What would Batman do? So you probably wouldn't kick up the ass.
Kick him up the arse and run off giggling.
Yeah, and that's Alfred.
Number 6
Yeah.
is Dead Space 2, which I played. That's 2011. I played it on Xbox 360. I think I played it on PC as well, maybe at some point. I love Dead Space 2 because it was the perfect balance of
Horror.
B-movie schlock, like tension building and just good gunplay. The controls were more fluid than they were in the first one. The first one was very clunky, but then it wasn't quite the kind of super agile gun bro of the third one sort of thing.
Yeah.
I love the AI. We've talked before, I think, on the Halloween episode
Probably
about
not my favourite Steven Spielberg film though.
Wow. AI, artificial intelligence, with Haley Joel Osment. Yeah, the AI, not the Steven Spielberg film,
Right.
is brilliant. Especially when we talked about the Stalker before, the one where it was hunting packs, so it'll kind of come to face
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and then one will come at you from the side. Brilliant. And there's good, like, it's just good horror direction throughout the whole thing. Like, the nursery scene is just such a classic, like, all-time great gaming moment. I was reading up about Dead Space 2. It's one of the most expensive games ever made. I didn't realise that. I mean, that's why the production values are so amazing in it, and why it can have the feel of a really good B-movie kind of schlock horror. Is that it's extremely expensive, basically.
Before, have you got anything more to say on that? Sorry.
Not really, no. It's a good game.
1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, I've only got 4 left now because you've covered 2 of mine in what you said. Just as we were talking about Batman, then it reminded me that one of my biggest disappointments of this year was the VR Batman game, because when I played that for like the first half hour, I thought, this is the best Batman game ever made, and I thought I'm gonna sit here all night, or stand here because it was VR, and I'm gonna play this all through in one night, because I was like, do you know, you're so excited, you're tingling.
Yeah.
I thought, this is amazing.
Okay, you did not need all night though, did you?
No, I needed another 10 minutes. I needed another 10 minutes, 40 minutes, and the game was complete, and it finished. And I think Faye was in the kitchen, and she heard me say, "What?" And then for a change, I wasn't saying Dad, and she said, "What's wrong?" I came in and I said, "Was that a demo? Was that a tutorial?" No, that was the game. And I was so angry that I can't even bother to like go back and enjoy it again.
Jesus.
We could stop this and finish the game twice before anyone comes over for later on. We're having a gaming day today, so.
And a Christmas jumper day.
Everyone's
Here's my
invited.
Christmas jumper.
Yeah, here's mine.
All these gaudy colours.
So yeah, sorry. So right, so that was my thing. So I'll do my number. I've got 1 number, so I've only got 4 left. Beckett, which is a game I've talked about at length on here before, but it's one of the few games that's really stuck with me, and I could just happily play through it again, or even just read the text. Have you done the?
I know the thing you're talking about, the cards. I haven't done them yet.
Yeah,
I really want to try
what's
that.
it called? I think it's someone's story, but I can't remember what the name of the name of the person. But yeah, Simon Meek from The Secret Experiment is just a genius, and you should seek out and play Beckett, especially if you're a fan of stuff like Samuel Beckett or Charles Bukowski, because it's just solid gold. Or the Beat Poets, absolutely solid gold. And I can't really say too much about it because it's a short game, but it's just, if you click with it, it's golden, solid, dark, miserable, fractured gold. Perfect.
This is good. We're gonna have to add the lists in the comments or in the notes. Or
Oh
something.
yeah. You'll have to leave your notes here.
Because I'm gonna need to play some of these games.
Yeah.
Number 5 I'm down to now. The Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim. Is it 5?
Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyfall.
Yeah. Skyfall, but yeah. A bit different game. Again, I played this on PC and Switch, I think. Yeah, I think it's quite well documented. It's a good game. I think for me, the experience of exploring, first going out into this world of Skyrim was more impactful than Oblivion or even Fallout 3. Really, I mean, for example, like I remember the first time coming over that hill and seeing Whiterun in the distance. You know, the kind of gated thing in the middle of the field. It was so cool. Probably looks quite shoddy now, but yeah. And I love Norse mythology, so the whole setting.
I was going to point this out because I was going to go on.
The whole setting it clicked with me in a way that the more kind of alien-y type bits of Morrowind and Oblivion didn't really do it for me. So
yeah, their versions of hell in Oblivion are quite badly realised.
Yes, and but I just loved. So I loved the kind of like really like heavy, weighty Norse kind of stylings of it. It just seemed quite like grounded and grubby, and like even the witches and stuff. They were just like horrible old hags sort of thing. It was like, it wasn't like grand, majestic kind of JRPG style like fantasy where they're flying up in the air. They're just like wizened old like
smoking rollies in a swamp,
basically. Yeah, and and it's got real kind of longevity to the game, because like the fact is that I played through it again like last year on Switch, and it still works. Like, you know, because you think about it, it's almost 10 years old now.
Yeah,
but it still is very playable. It still
Did
works.
you think, because going back to this, so if we're talking about those RPGs, 2011 you had, I had Human Revolution. I played obviously more in Oblivion, and I'd also just come off 2010 or 11 was New Vegas.
Yeah, that was, well, because Fallout 3 was, well, it might have been 2009. Fallout 3 was 2007, 2008.
So either way,
Yeah.
I'd done those,
Yeah.
and then I played Skyrim, and it really didn't grab me in the same way. I liked the side quests, but I found the main quest really, really tedious.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I think it's more, then I think those games are so much more about the world
Yeah.
building, which was...
I think I was a bit burned out from massive
I would
RPGs, which
imagine
does
that.
happen with me every few years. I'll just think, I can't be bothered.
I just, like, it's...
And you do love Vikings and Norse mythology.
I do. I just love... I love...
You just like big hairy men. Don't
Exactly. Well, it's the closest thing I could get to an RPG version of Viking Battle for Asgard, which of course would be on this list, but it was from like 2007 or
you?
whatever.
It's the best game in the Xbox 360.
Obviously.
Glasses, family up nose.
From the makers of Alien Isolation, just saying.
Viking Battle for Asgard.
Yeah, it's Creative Assembly, wasn't
But
it?
this, yeah, I suppose they didn't really have like cupboards in.
Not really. Apparently it was used... Alien Isolation was adapted from the engine they used for Viking Battle for Asgard. Don't really see how, but there you go.
Which is a better game?
What? Alien Isolation or Viking Battle for Asgard? But you could just have Battle for Asgard against any other game. It would be the same answer every time.
Which is
Viking Battle for Asgard. Yeah, so, and I haven't really played anything quite like Skyrim since. Nothing's really grabbed me in the same way in terms of the atmosphere and stuff. I suppose the closest thing would be Witcher 3, but I never got into the Witcher games because the first two had bad combat, and the third one didn't I'm guessing that you may be mentioning Witcher 3 at some point. But the third one, it didn't quite have the requisite like whimsy for my liking, because I do prefer like a slightly more whimsical fantasy.
As opposed to people like
adventure.
swearing and drinking in pubs.
Pretty much, which is why I prefer the Hobbit trilogy to Lord of the Rings.
And why you moved away from Southampton.
Please, Portsmouth.
Yeah, I insist. Right then, so Rover. So this one, I'm really, because when I was writing this list and I was reminded of this game, I have absorbed the soundtrack over the last couple of weeks since writing it down, and I now fully intend to buy it on Switch and just play through it all again. And that is West of Loathing, because I think it's one of the best games ever made. It's when I got it sent to review, and of course you look at the trailer and you look at like the screenshots. You're like, this is just like a load of stickmen in black and white, just with text. How good can it be? Very good is the answer. Very good indeed. I don't think I've laughed as hard playing. I think there was one point in West of Loathing where I had to choose a horse at the start of the game, and there was like a flying magic horse, and like there was like a black horse and a white horse, and another one that was like, I don't know, like an angry thing, and there was one and its eyes just spun round and round, and it was just like just really thick. I laughed at that for 10 hours throughout the entire game. Every time I saw my horse I would laugh, and I called it bonkers obviously, but there's so many brilliant bits of writing in it, and it comes from this kind of, the humour always punches up, and it's got this, it's just this kind of wide-eyed simplicity about it. Like there's a bit where they say you've got to go to the Daveyard. And I'm like, a graveyard? No, a Daveyard. It's where we bury everyone called Dave. And it's just this stupid, it's okay. Or like these bits you've got to like reach into a spittoon, and it just spends like paragraphs describing how buzzing the spittoon is, but you can see something glistening. It's like you really want to put your hand in there. Are you sure about this? It's really horrible. And it just, everything about it was amazing, and it kept it up to the end. So the game is like it's got turn-based combat. The soundtrack's amazing. Turn-based combat, but was just a bit sort of stupid, kind of, the weapons were a bit silly, and then it's just going to these different towns in this western setting and seeing all these different caricatures and all these different camps, and it's just the funniest game ever made. So West of Loathing is proudly in the top 3, and that probably would be number 1 or, well, probably 2 or 3 behind my original.
Of the decade. I love it.
I love games that make me laugh, because I don't really like stand-up comedy, beyond stupidly obviously. I don't really like many comedy films. I don't know why, but so when I get involved in something that can really make me laugh, I fully embrace it.
It's quite a thing as well for it to be funny all the way through. Well, like Lego City Undercover, it's all down to the writing, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that this is just all text, so it's so well written and just delivered purely, through just dialogue, through text dialogue.
Have the developers done other stuff? Do you know?
They did a thing called Kingdom of Loathing, which was a free online game, and then this was a spin-off, which became bigger.
Oh, right, okay.
So I don't know what they're doing next, but I will follow them to my grave, to my Dave. I will follow them to my grave.
Number 4, we're almost there, is...
Have you never played West of Loathing?
No.
Oh my god! Yeah, absolutely,
really vital. I think this is the first Nintendo game on here.
Whoa, fanboy!
It's Super Mario 3D World from 2013.
Yeah.
Wii U, obviously. Because it's just got the tightest game design I've ever seen, because it's so tightly.
For a second, I think you said Titus. Remember that the people who made it with the fox, Titus the Fox, and the Amiga. I thought, what's he talking about?
Did they make Fire and Ice? I can't remember.
Yeah. But they didn't make Fire Force, so it doesn't matter.
Obviously, like Super Mario Odyssey has got some plaudits,
That's right.
and it's an excellent game. But I personally prefer the more focused approach of Super Mario 3D World, where it's like, okay, here's a level, get through it, and it's like, right, one challenge to the next.
And it's multiplayer. It's up to 4 players.
It's so much fun, and multiplayer. It's just so chaotic. It's like it's pure like Nintendo, so it's like a kind of carnival of ideas, and it's like if one idea doesn't click with you, then
the next level will be totally different.
You're just.
And it's one of those games again that if you said, "Oh, should we just chuck that on today and play it?" Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because it's just so playable. And again, which is like classic Nintendo, is that it's got this really like joyous, positive presentation, but then actually it gets really difficult towards the end. And like there's a level called Champions Road, I think it's called, And I still have not been able to finish that because it's so hard.
You're not a
It's so
hardcore
solid.
proper gamer, Rupert.
Yeah, clearly.
When you go into the accessibility options and turn on thick.
I would also mention that there's a very personal reason why Super Mario 3D World is one of my top games of the decade. It's because it basically rescued my gaming career. Because there was a point, it's 2013, so there was a point there where I'd played a succession of really grim, intense, like cinematic-driven kind of games, like The Last of Us, which you notice is not on our list.
Not, it's not even on a most disappointed
No, it's
or
just
honourable mention.
whatever.
It's just
Go
very-
away. Like Dead Space 3, I think Crisis 3, Bioshock Infinite.
Crisis 3 is weirdly joyless.
It really is. It's just relentless.
Generic is the word.
Yeah.
Let's say really quickly before you carry on. I will say the same thing for Agents of Mayhem. Playing it, and I thought it's just so joyless. And like you say, written by a committee, like nothing's funny.
Yeah.
Everything is generic, and I just couldn't get more than like 45 minutes into it. Sorry.
Bioshock Infinite as well. Like slightly, they're not bad games. None of them are bad games. They're just a bit joyless, like slightly disappointing each time.
It's the kind of games that you feel like you never leave your couch. You're very aware that you're sitting on your couch and you're like a bit fidgety and you're playing a game and you think
You're not really transported.
no, you're not hips deep, or there's nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just not enjoying this, and it's nothing. It's
Yeah, it's like okay. But then, so I thought, well, and I bought a Wii U with Super Mario 3D World because I thought, that sounds like something different, and it was just completely
put the gun down for a
transformative.
second.
And it was completely transformative. But I genuinely think that the game design in that is just so perfectly calibrated that it's just impossible not to absolutely love it. It's so good, and I think it's marginally better than Super Mario Odyssey for me.
It's a different game
It is quite
different genre.
Yeah.
because Mario Odyssey's crap,
Exactly, rubbish.
total rubbish. 15 FPS, and that's choppy. Yeah, no, it is. I would say it's a different game because Mario Odyssey is much more. You couldn't really compare like Super Mario World, Mario 3 to Mario 64.
True.
And you couldn't really do Odyssey and things.
No.
So.
That is a fair point.
I'm not wearing glasses.
Yeah.
It's just a
I'm just got a rash on my nose.
foul leprosy on my conch.
Yeah, so that was my number 4.
Oh, okay. It's interesting that you say like number 4 is the game that was transformative and saved you from a gaming abyss. Number 4. I'm going to look at your top 3 with half moon reading glasses perched on the end of my leprous nose. Number 3 is sorry. Oh, this is number 2 because I've only got 2 left. Fallout New Vegas, even with Matthew Perry's voice acting, because and this is I preferred it to Skyrim because it was the last Fallout game where I thought I'm a dude and I'm wandering around and I've got nothing, and that's what I want. So I can remember all of the settlements and I really enjoyed it. I would say I've played it more than I've played Fallout 3. But that you were saying earlier in the moment, you in Fallout 3
Where you emerge.
you emerge and it kind of sort of comes into view. I would say that there are moments in Fallout 3 that stand out more in my mind, like Tenpenny Tower and stuff. But Fallout New Vegas is the one that I enjoyed through most.
So with Fallout 3 it's like classic moments, but with New Vegas is like the overall experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Notice that none of us have said Fallout 4 or 76.
New Fallout 4, I just keep trying.
You can do it and avoid all of the building aspects and the power armor, but even then, it's not as good as
But
Vegas or
this,
Fallout 3.
the first thing you do in that game is go and get power armor. It's like the first thing I do in that game is look through some like an old dresser and find like a rubbish revolver and 1 bullet
For another gun.
for another gun, a completely unrelated gun. Yeah, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah, so Fallout New Vegas. What are your thoughts on Fallout New Vegas?
I haven't played it enough. I really haven't. I mean, I like the idea of the setting, but I just never, because I kind of missed it first time round, and now it's old enough that I'm not sure. Is it gonna draw me in? Because I think if I played Fallout 3, for example, the first time now, I'd probably think, "Whoa, this looks pretty rough."
No, it's alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Fallout New Vegas, though, what I found was, obviously you've got Mr. New Vegas, who runs New Vegas, and I could not see his name without thinking, Mr. New Vegas. From Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Good. Mr. New Vegas. Matthew Perry in that game. Wow, I blew his brains
does
out.
he-
When I had the chance, I blew his brains out.
Is he one of the main characters?
Yeah, he kind of turns up at the start and the end. Just hearing his voice.
Really? It doesn't sound like that would work in a Fallout game.
Well, it's one of those things. He's got quite a distinctive voice because he does his S's in a certain way, and yeah, and he's in it. He plays a character called Benny, and there's a bit at the end where you can make certain choices. And my choice was to raise my arm 90 degrees and pull a trigger. And after I put Roger Lloyd Pack down, after picking him up at a bar.
Wow.
So
then, where are we? Number 3 for me. How have I got 3 left and you've only got 1?
because you chose Broforce.
That was it. That upset the system, didn't it?
It did.
Number 3 is Doom from 2016,
Oh, okay.
which I played on PC and PS4, which is just amazing. Like, it's a completely single-minded and of-a-piece kind of shooter. It doesn't... Like, the gunplay is completely satisfying. And
the way that he reacts to any kind of narrative. When he's just like
it's literally the next
punching
point.
monitors and just like not caring.
My next point was I wrote down hilarious disregard for narrative. It's just so funny, and it makes that point very early on, because at the start it's like someone starts talking to you and saying, right, you got to go and do this, you got to do that. He just punches it, just smashes it, and picks up his gun and just off he goes. It's
and
so
the beautiful fist bump moment as well when you collect one of the Doom dolls, really nice.
And there's no aspect of like the formula of its gameplay which I dislike, like, because there's quite a lot of kind of variety of different things you do. I mean, obviously it's all just shooting stuff, but you also get the kind of nest moments where you have to like trigger a nest and then it's like an arena kind of things start hoarding at you. You get these side challenges where you've got to kill a certain amount with just a shotgun or whatever. They're great as well. Yeah, and the kind of main gameplay loop, which is essentially ends up you're going through like corridor bits to like an arena, essentially, kind of finish that off and then move on to the next bit. Never gets old, and it just gets so chaotic towards the end. I mean, there's this classic gunfight in like this train station, I think it is, and it's so chaotic, but you're so good by then because it's so well designed, the game, of course, to really like make you feel amazing, that you're so good by then. You're dealing with so much coming at you. It's just like you're dodging stuff, dashing about the place. It's so good, just so fluid, and I can't wait for Doom Eternal. And I've just found out that Doom Eternal has an option to put your gun in the centre of the screen, like in the original Doom. Brilliant. Yeah. So it's kind of like Doom 2016 is like the game that you pictured in your mind when you were playing the original Doom, but of course you weren't actually seeing it in front of your eyes.
No, you were too busy pressing the minus key.
You were pressing the minus key to make it run at an acceptable frame rate. Yeah, I mean, 60 frames a second, good. And it looks gorgeous considering that. But yeah, 60 frames a second, and it's like, well, they could have made it even more beautiful at 30, but they knew. They knew where the real magic happened, and that happens at 60 frames a second.
60 is the golden number.
Yeah.
Just asked Forza Motorsport 4.
Like what it sets out to do, Doom 2016, it does better than anything in its kind of class.
Yeah, like just a Heartlands shooter. Just like, here we go,
Yeah.
we're going to shoot.
It's amazing considering that like its actual launch was pretty shoddy, because I remember they released their kind of beta was a multiplayer demo, so they really focused on the multiplayer, and of course no one plays that, no one cares about that, because it was all about the single player experience, which was amazing. So I think it had quite a slow start, but now it's really got
It's audience it deserves.
Yes, it's really well held in high esteem, and I think it sells well. You can get it for like $5 half the time as well. It seems to be just discounted.
Is it on Switch?
Yes, but I wouldn't play on Switch because it's amazing that it's actually possible, and I think it's 30 frames, so you don't really want to be playing on Switch. It's too chaotic anyway to be playing on a small screen like that.
You need it on the PS4.
You need it on PS4, big screen. Just
I should play it again. I did play. I really enjoyed it. I got up to the remember the Cyber Demon boss. We have to like. He's got like. I remember having to like double jump and stuff over like waves of
Yes.
quite far away. But the
final boss. That sounds like the final boss.
Oh really? Oh, there we go. That was finished it.
Were there loads of like columns around?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the final boss. Yeah.
Oh, I should just do that bit there.
You probably should. It's not that. And once you get used to the rhythm of it, it's not too hard.
Once you get used to the Robert S. Patton. Is it Robert S. Patton?
Robert
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, yeah.
Once you get used to the Roberts, it's fine. My number one is clearly The Witcher 3. It's clearly The Witcher 3.
Hidden gem.
Because not only did I get... I mean, I was the same as you. I've played the first Witcher and I've played the second Witcher and finished them and enjoyed them, but I felt like I was working against the game design a lot.
The combat in the first two.
When the third one came out, and even the third one, I will say one of the biggest flaws about it is there's no like verticality in it. It's all quite flat.
Yeah, that's the point.
If he trips over a stone, he will die because there's just even if he jumps up, it's like I broke my ankles. So
remember the jump animation being slightly awkward.
Yeah, it's no siphon filter forward roll.
No.
So or even the back roll in Greedfall is really satisfying. So yeah, which is a good game by the way. You get in the combat, you go in, you do a few hits, and then you do like a back dodge, and it's this cool like back roll that turns into like a half spring. I found myself just doing that outside of combat, just rolling around in the field. So yeah, Witcher 3, which I love just because of this. I'm the opposite of you, whereas I love these miserable Russian stories, and the fact that this is just quite a gritty sort of like politically swampy game. When I was playing it, I just the what's his name, Doug.
Lyman?
Des Lynam.
Des Lynam.
It's going to really bother me. The guy who does the voice acting, I'll know it the moment I press stop. The voice acting is fantastic, and I fancy all the women, and I fancy Geralt. And also, the Witcher games as a whole, not only when I played The Witcher 3 did I like... Blood and Wine is one of the best expansion packs ever made, and some of the best... Regis is one of the best characters in a game. But also... It went beyond the game. Like I've now bought and read all of Andrei, I want to say Tarkovsky, Sikowsky, I think, or Sikowsky's books, and I'm probably not going to watch the show because I may at some point, but I think my connection with The Witcher is like through the books and through the game, and I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Like I haven't read the books, and I played Witcher 3 up to the point. I think I got to the bit with the Red Baron or whatever his name was.
That's very early on.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. So that was like, it was only about 20 hours in. Yeah, and I liked it, but yeah, it's just too grim for me. But yeah, I do respect it, the level of
the
detail.
scope of it.
Yeah, the scope of it.
And the story is quite, and the thing is, knowing the characters from the books and stuff, it is, and then they do take a different slant to the books, but it is, the way it all sort of ties in together, and him as a character, I just think it's really cool. And it's one of the few games as well that I got to the end, and I've got to the final mission in Blood and Wine, the last expansion, and I can't bring myself to finish it because I don't want it to end. Like in my head, it's kind of ongoing. So, which is the same thing I did with the David Gemmell books, which is, again, like low fantasy stuff. And he died right in the last book, and I think his wife finished her off. So I just won't read that last book because it would be too sad. Yeah. So yeah, Witcher 3 is definitely my game of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Obviously followed by West of Loathing. You
haven't mentioned the fact that like constantly when you're outside, all the trees are just constantly blowing in the wind in a really aggressive way.
He's literally in conversation, sat down in a hut with a door closed, and he's like, "It's drafty in here." So yeah, it is constant wind blowing. And he should end it with Triss and not Yennefer. I just want to throw that out there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, Yennefer's clearly just some dozy tart, and Triss is a total, utter lovely burner. So,
but is he lovely?
Geralt? Well, it depends how you play him, I suppose.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could never quite work that out, but then I didn't play it enough to work out. Like, he's obviously been a grey area type. It
really tickles me, the level of political machinations that he gets drawn into in the books as well. And although he's obviously like an intelligent character, just how much he doesn't want to be embroiled in these things. Yeah. But he is kind of the only person that can deal with them. It just that always tickled me in the books and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, it's a little bit like the protagonist in Deus Ex Human Revolution, the way that he's like trying to do the right thing, but you're being drawn into complex political situations.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to stay neutral and just.
But you clearly have to make.
Like,
yeah.
You really have to make those decisions.
But again, it's a good point. The dialogue in both in Witcher 3 and Deus Ex: Human Revolution is such that if you were openly hostile or like sarcastic, it would work even if you did that halfway through the game, because it would just play out like he's just completely lost his temper with it.
Yeah.
So which is does work. That's
Good.
why it's the best game in the last 10 years.
Number
20.
Number 2 for me then is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh, this throws a spanner in the works for me.
I love its just dead serious tone. I love the sensitivity of the writing around the kind of mental health part. I like the perfect balance between gameplay and storytelling. Because, I mean, there are some cutscenes, but they're all quite weird and dreamlike. So most of the storytelling is told through the gameplay and the kind of voiceover and stuff like that. I like the combat, which is very simple but weighty and also skill-based. There's no like hand-holding, but at the same time it doesn't use death as a teaching tool, if you see what I mean. It's not like, right, you have to die in order to learn the mechanics. It's like, you will learn them, and it's kind of fair. It builds up in such a way that it's kind of fair to you.
Okay.
And in fact, you're encouraged not to die, because of course you've got this kind of this disease which is like running up your arm, and if it gets to your head, then it's game over. Supposedly, I've never got that far, and apparently it doesn't actually mean game over. It's like just to scare you at the start, sort of thing. And I love the puzzles because they're really cleverly bound in with the kind of themes. And
okay.
Yeah, because it's all to do with perception. You kind of look through these kind of doorways to look at other realities and line it up in order to shift the environment so that you can get through certain pathways and stuff. It's really cool because it's like, obviously her perception is quite messed up with, like, because she's got so many like damaging negative thoughts coming at her all the time, so everything's all kind of like you're already like, there's artifacts coming at you everywhere and you're not sure what's really real, so you're having to like create the reality that you need in order to progress.
So it's like she's swimming through thick cold custard all the time.
Yes, exactly that. That is probably not the exact words.
Well, Hellblade 2, The Custard, is coming out.
Well, I was going to mention that. Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, it's just been announced with a quite preposterous trailer as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just so full on.
Does it give away anything from the first game?
No, not at all.
Because I do want to... I'm going to play these. Then what you're talking
Yeah, I mean, it's on, again, I think it's on Switch and it's a good port apparently, but I think probably still go for PS4 or something like that, just because it is a pretty game. Again, like, for all I talk of like wanting a bit of whimsy, it's so not whimsical.
Dour
it's so dour and so dark.
But you do
it takes
have a
itself
vested interest in mental health.
Yeah, and it
so.
does take. It takes itself very seriously, and it doesn't take the subject matter lightly. But it's also fun, which I think is incredible.
Is
balance.
it funny at any point?
No,
you didn't like slap your knee and...
No, not. There wasn't really that much humour. There's no West of Loathing style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like no one gets like a custard pie in the face and she's like, oh god.
That's in the sequel, the custarding.
The custody of the children.
But yes, and Hellblade 2. I mean, it's like, I'm so excited for that I'd buy the new Xbox just to play it. That's how good.
That is praise. That is praise.
Yeah, so that was that 2017.
Have you ever bought a console to play one game?
Well, I suppose technically I bought a Wii U to play Super Mario 3D World.
This is true.
It turned into an amazing console though, because obviously it's got so many good games on it.
Yes, such a small library with solid bronze all the way through. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was that. So
this is number one.
Number one is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Oh wow, okay.
Because it's...
Are you sure about this?
I am absolutely sure. I know that you never quite...
You would rank that above Hellblade.
Yes.
And Mario 3D.
Yes. I think it's the... Yes. And they're good games as well. But I think because it gave me a feeling in Breath of the Wild, which I I've not had in another game. Like, I've never had that sense of boundless adventure. Boredom. I've never had that feeling of like boundless adventure in the same way.
Okay.
I love the kind of tone where it's actually quite subtly quite somber, because it's a post-apocalyptic game at the end of the day. I like the combat, which is quite challenging but enjoyable, and it's all skill based, so really you could technically run, if you got good enough, you could just go straight to the final boss, and
Tommy
defeat him.
Cannon.
and there are kind of like endless kind of secrets around the place. People are still finding stuff in that world, which is kind of about the wealth of content which any game can do. But what's really good is kind of what I've written here is there's endless questions, but there's also endless answers, because what the game does really well is it gives you the loose tools, because it's all kind of physics based. It gives you these kind of loose tools to solve puzzles and traverse the environment, and it means that there are almost endless ways to solve stuff. So you get these hilarious videos online of people like really kind of breaking the game, if you like, but it was all by design. There's never anything where it's like it's not bugs. There are just ways that
You'll very rarely find bugs in a Nintendo game.
Yeah, that's true. Well, especially, and that's the other thing, just because of the sheer development time of this game, because it was so long in development, which is why I don't think I'm ever going to see something quite like it again, because of course it was originally planned as a Wii U game, which is why you see things in the game which
that's where I played it, the Wii.
Yeah, you see things in the game which are clearly designed with a Wii U in mind, like the Sheikah Slate, which just looks like a Wii U pad, and it's like, okay, so that was clearly designed for that. But then, of course, when the Wii U was struggling, they thought, right, well, we're going to put it on Switch. So they just extended the development time, and it kept being delayed and delayed. So I don't know how long it was in development for, but, well, when was the previous Zelda game before that? It can't have been Twilight Princess, surely.
I don't really follow Zelda, so I'm not.
It might have been Twilight Princess.
Which would have been
2006.
with
It's over 10 years.
as a counterpoint to what you said, and I will admit openly that it's terrible. No, that I again with these RPGs, I do realise that I suffer from burnout with them.
Yeah.
Burnout Revenge specifically.
Takedown.
But if you imagine, right, I had literally come hot off the heels of Witcher 3.
I can imagine that this would not be a good transition.
So I went into Zelda, and what I found was I was fed up with my weapons breaking within nanoseconds, and the constantly respawned enemies kind of got my nerves a little bit. And also, whenever I thought you'd talk about this open world, every time I'd look around and see something in the distance, I think, oh no, it's over there, and then 50 minutes later I'd realise, oh, there's nothing over here. Much like there's nothing most places I go in this game, and it just ground me down. And it may be that did you find it weirdly empty?
No, because wherever you go, there is something to do, but you may not see it straight away.
Okay,
and that's
maybe I need to reassess it, because obviously I respect your top 10 and your opinions and things, but I had such a different experience.
I know, it's
with
amazing.
this game. Like, I just found it joyless empty and just like.
I would not expect anyone to have the same experiences, but which is why they're like our favourites, because all you got to go on is like the feeling that it gives you to play that game, and that game gave me such a unique feeling, and it's a game that I know that I will go back to, and I have gone back to in master mode, which is challenging. If you think your weapons break quickly in normal mode, well,
they break mid-flight in that.
You pick it up and it just snaps in your hand. Yeah, I would say the weapons. I know the weapons breaking thing is the durability factor was bothersome to a lot of people, but it is by design, because what it does is it forces you into using different like techniques, especially early on in the game, because you're basically picking up sticks and hoping that you can defeat dragons with them. It was preposterous. But there were moments in that game where not only was because it's constantly rewarding you for going off the beaten track and like exploring stuff, but those moments, like some of them, normally it's just like in games like that, it's like you go off the beaten track, you find something that's like a cool little bit of text or something, you find like a grave and it's like, oh, that's a nice little touch. But I remember going off the beaten track, completely didn't need to do it for the story, found like this temple on top of a mountain, and there was a dragon flying through the air, like this big snake-like dragon, and I found that I could leap off the top of the mountain, glide down, climb onto the dragon's back, and let it like fly me across the map and stuff like that. Just stuff like really elaborate, secret stuff which you don't have to do at all. It's like, this is like quite magical. It's like a really magical experience I'm having, and I didn't need to do this at all. This is not in any of the main quests or anything.
It's just thrown in as a little.
So that's what I kind of loved about it.
I feel like I should reassess it, because I do feel like I'm missing out something. But I had such a negative experience with it that I think I could go back to it. No, I do it. Oh, no,
It could be. You need to find the right moment, because you don't want to bounce off it. Well, I suppose you could just try it. If you don't like it, then that. You know, I've tried, for example, Witcher 3 a few times, and I can respect it. I just can't. It just doesn't draw me in. It just doesn't get me.
I think
it's quite predictable, really, on 2 number 1s, isn't it? Really, when you think about it.
Yeah, one whimsical.
Witcher 3 and Breath of the Wild. That would probably be most people's like top games of the decade, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So after all that, with just a couple of like predictable, just sheep.
Yeah, but they're good games.
They are good games.
So yeah, well, I think the fans have just turned up, so we better wrap this up. But that was. I'd be interested to know what other people's are, especially when they're like hidden gems and ones that you don't hear about so much, like maybe West of Loathing or Celeste and stuff.
I love it.
So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and now we're gonna get drunk and play some games.
Good stuff.
More specifically, Hello Neighbour.